Hello everybody and welcome back to the stream. It is I, DIGI Driver. Today is Saturday, April 20th, 2024. It's about 3:50 p.m. on the Eastern Seaboard, and earlier this morning I decided to take off from Dublin in Ireland and fly the Kuro 787 on a lazy cross the pond hop to Boston. Last year, I hopped in the Salty Simulations 747 and I flew from France, Brest, I think. I forget what the ICAO code is, and I flew to Philadelphia. So I am reprising the trip today, and I'm kind of happy that I did that because I don't know, it's just it's a nice way to fly. I didn't have enough time to set up properly for the whole, VATSIM across the pond version. My AirX up to code, current, but it happened pretty quick. And while I was relatively certain that I was going to fly it, I waited too long, and I'm glad I didn't do it because flying multiplayer lets me hop on, hop off whenever I want to go do something, go grab something to drink. It's not that I don't want to do FATSIM across the pond and at any point. It's just that today in particular, it was great to just be able to basically get up, help Mrs. DG with some stuff around the house, and yeah, I would say it was a great opportunity to for me to move my legs and to enjoy some activity, moving some furniture around. So here we are. We're at the controls of the 787-800. We're flying the American Airlines livery. I'll show you. And enjoying an Atlantic crossing in wonderful 1080p. And we do have just a few folks crossing over with us at the exact same time. And it kind of makes me chuckle because I like you hop on multiplayer and you think, oh, okay, we can we can enjoy the flight with other people, but at the same time, it's more like, well, the chances of you actually being in the same airspace as someone else, while numerous, sometimes seem small. But the pilot in front of me and the two pilots behind me have been around me for, I would say, most of my time in the sim. So thank you for your company, whoever you are. You're making the crossing just a little bit better than crossing by myself. But that's also why I decided to stream it. So I'm sorry that I didn't stream the beginning of the trip, but at the same time, unless I decide to hop off, you'll probably see me arrive into Boston later. And hopefully we'll do a twilight arrival. Otherwise, we'll see plenty of lights on the Boston skyline and we'll get there if the Lord wills. Which, of course, by His grace, I pray that's the case. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful that another work week is in the books. And next week promises to be even a little epic, which is kind of cool. So, welcome aboard if you're watching for the first time. If you've watched before, welcome back. I am a flight simulator streamer, but I'm also a scenery developer. I create sceneries for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and eventually I think I'd like to go back to doing it in X-Plane as well. I haven't released anything for X-Plane yet, but I'd like to. So that story started about a couple of years ago. I got a new computer in the fall of 2021, and I was trying to establish myself as an entertainment streamer, fly flights in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I got P3D. I installed a whole bunch of stuff on top of the stuff that I had for FSX, which largely was compatible, save one or two programs. And I tried to fly and I tried to fly and I tried to fly, but I wasn't getting the traction that I wanted. And I just kind of stepped away. And then I got this idea: why don't I start making scenery? Because I had done it many, many years ago before this. And I had to learn a bit, but then in the summer of 2021, I tried to use satellite imagery to create scenery really quickly. And it was kind of cool, but it wasn't at the same time. The limitations of what I was trying to do at the time didn't make for a very easy experience. However, I might have to revisit that in the near future, at least based on an idea or two that I have. All that to say, in the spring of 2022, I decided to really get into learning about scenery development for Microsoft Flight Simulator. And I released a few tiny airports. I got some traction. I released an even bigger airport. And then I created a payware scenery, which I released on Sim Market. Just a tiny thing for a private airport in Williamsburg, Virginia. That sold a bit. And I wanted to go and take over the world, but it was not to be. I got busier with my IRL job. And when you're a software developer, energy management is important, especially in the realm of creativity. Because I don't know about any other software developers, but I tend to use a lot of the creative side of my brain to solve certain problems. So you kind of have to figure stuff out. And what what happens is you end your day, especially if you work more than 8 or 9 hours, and you're like, oof, you don't have as much creativity as you'd like to. So over the past couple of years, on top of wanting to be a scenery developer, I've learned how to manage that, or try to manage that, with the kind of work that I do in real life. So the past few months in particular have got me thinking about some alternatives, some potentially future ideas, and I have been trying to grow. There's something going on that I don't know if I have permission to talk about yet, so I'm not going to mention it. But let's just say, if it comes to fruition, it will essentially mean that it'll be my first paid scenery developer gig, which I'm kind of excited about. So there we go. Meanwhile, let's see where we are. I have a browser screen open that I haven't turned on yet, but let me go ahead and share where I'm at. Give me a few seconds to pull my browser and stand by. Oh, okay. This needs to have its properties adjusted. Hold on. There we go. And if I open up my browser, I just need to pull it up into place. And I'll pull it up over my overlay since it's not going to stay there long. All right. So right now, you are looking at my flight plan for today's flight. And this reminds me of something that made me smile earlier today. I was planning my flight, and the Kuro mod, at least the version that I have of the 787-800, doesn't have a way for you to be able to import your SimBrief flight plans. Or if it does, I haven't figured out how. So I couldn't figure out how to get the coordinates for the NAT track to go into my flight plan. So I said, we'll just put in as many waypoints as we can. That's fine. If we slice through some nat tracks, that's fine. I'm only flying multiplayer anyway. But then I discovered something which made me smile. Miracles can happen, Nathan. Welcome aboard, my friend. It is good to see you. Happy to have you aboard. Happy to have you with us. We're flying in the 787-800 to Boston. We took off from Dublin earlier today, and I'm doing this multiplayer because even though I like VATSIM, I wanted to be able to get up and sit down whenever I wanted to without having to keep radioing and saying, hey, I'm going to be away for like 30 minutes and then having to time that. So, no, no, at least not this time. Maybe eastbound, I will do it on VATSIM, and maybe I'll practice by doing some flights. Time to enjoy that cross the pond coffee. You got it. That'll be in about an hour. I'm anticipating arriving in Boston somewhere between 7 to 8, maybe 8:30 at the most. But right now, let's see, where are we? We're actually about to exit the oceanic portion of the flight. I don't know if you just saw that. You left Toronto and you're heading to San Juan. You'll make it to get. Yeah, somebody's actually flying to San Juan. I forget who it is, but I think that's Fly Dr. Cat. I think. And here's where I am right now. So we took off from Dublin a while ago, and I figured out how to get the Kuromod FMC to add the waypoints. So I had to put in the waypoints. You won't be able to see them now because they're past. But I had to actually type in the waypoints and I had to type in like 5045 north so that I could actually get 50 north and 45 west onto the plan. I just didn't realize that was how it was supposed to work. And when I finally figured it out, dude, I was so happy. So happy. So that's what's going on right now. Yeah, I should be seeing, I should probably be seeing Newfoundland in another, I'm gonna say 15 minutes. And then, like if you were streaming the whole flight, and you were doing this and you saw land, that's the part of the flight where you're like, oh man, I'm so happy I made it this far. Yeah, yeah. I just didn't figure that I could trial and error the approach because sometimes when you don't know how to solve a problem, you don't know what troubleshooting steps will help you. The older that I get, I think the more I realize sometimes the only way to figure a problem out is just by trying things until one thing works and you figure out all the other ways it doesn't. So, yeah, the number for the latitude, the number for the longitude, and then whether or not you're in the northern or southern hemisphere is what I believe works for the Kuro mod at least. I don't know if the Horizon mod has that same problem. I'm pretty sure the Horizon mod for the 789 would allow you to import SimBrief plans. And again, this could be something I'm doing wrong with the Kuro mod myself. So it is what it is. But yeah, yeah, I mean, I'm happy about that. Um, we're flying with a cost index of 15. So what's my current cruise Mach right now? Oh, we're about Mach 0.8, 0.82? Oof. We could probably be at least 0.84. But this isn't a 787-10. This isn't a 787-900. This is a 787-800. So I think like maximum cruise is like Mach 0.85 or 0.86. So we're not going to get to 0.9er. Not without firewalling the throttle and having zero regard for reality. Oh man, that's amazing. I think I want to give Cross the Pond Eastbound a serious shot. I don't know if I'm going to have the time for it this year. I'd like to say that I will, but there's stuff going on. I'll spare you the details, but essentially, here's the deal. The issue is I'm in a spot where I'd like to be on a journey that's more aligned with the work that I do. Let's just put it at that. So that's what's been driving the past several weeks. I've been extremely busy with IRL work, and Mrs. DIGI and I have been trying to make stuff happen. The beginning of this year did not work out for us financially like I had hoped. The prior year was the first year that Flight Sim Expo was coming back to Las Vegas. And 2021, no, 2022 was in Houston, and 2021 was a partial in San Diego. But I was hoping to go, would have been my first time in Vegas. And so, it would have been dope. It would have been great. But at the same time, we took a look, and even though we put up a valiant fight, it became pretty clear that it was not going to be possible to um, actually make that happen. Ooh, look at this, chat. We've got a real life flight that's going to be crossing back our way. Yeah, I don't know if we'll see the plane, but thank you, my friend. See, I'm not bitter about the experience because there's stuff that I've picked up from it that's kind of made me pay attention. There are things that I am doing or that I'm trying to accomplish now that I don't know I could have accomplished or could have dreamt of accomplishing as a less experienced software developer. So there's that. And same can be said for Mrs. Digi as well. All right, I can't see them very well. It's probably the standard MSFS livery, but blue skies, November Julia Echo 900 Golf, and take care of yourself out there. Pretty sure that's real-time traffic, or maybe a couple of minutes old. But regardless of the fact, look at this. We can see land ahead, chat. It's beautiful. And somewhere past the blocking pillar in the cockpit is the sun, which is getting lower and lower. I like my chances for a sunset arrival. I like my chances. The sun isn't in front of the plane, so we're not super chasing it. And I gotta say, the frame gen mod has been good to my frame rates. I'm pleased. We're heading to Boston, that's right. So we took off from Dublin, and it had a little bit of difficulty because I took off opposite way because I noticed real traffic was actually taking off to the east instead of the west. So I took off to the east, got turned around a little bit. The VNAV didn't want to work at first, but after I did some manual climbing for a bit and then reactivated VNAV, I was fine. I also set my initial or my arrival descent altitude so that as long as this VNAV respects restrictions, I should be fine. We'll figure it out pretty quickly though. Let me take a look at my screens. If I take a look at the data, can I see? Oh, look at that. Look at that. I can see the traffic behind me too. That's dope. Yeah. So we've got some traffic behind us, probably by a good 50 to 60 miles, but I'm going to go ahead and adjust my range and see if I can see any waypoints. I can't tell too much, but yeah, we've got some vectors, we've got some altitudes to be above. So we'll see. I don't see top of descent. Oh no, I do see top of descent, so it's there. Got it. Got it. Deer Lake. I think I'd like to go visit Newfoundland someday. Go to St. John's, go to I mean, probably visit the airport. A couple of years ago, I took a cruise up to St. John and to Halifax, and the scenery out there was beautiful. I got to go to the Bay of Fundy. I got to go do a little bit of walking around in Halifax, tried some local fare, and yeah, man, it was an enjoyable trip. I'd like to go up there again at some point, but I think I want to do some other stuff in Canada first. I want to go visit Pierre Luck. I want to go visit Studio Canuck, and maybe some other folks too. I tell you, I don't regret going up to Halifax, going up to Nova Scotia at all. To say that that province is picturesque is putting it lightly. It was beautiful. Even though it was rainy that day, it was still gorgeous. And I definitely, oh no, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. It wasn't rainy in Halifax, it was rainy in St. John, in New Brunswick, in St. John's, St. John. But yeah, it was an enjoyable trip. I definitely liked it. And my family has been cruising for a while. It's an interesting experience to doing a destination vacation because there's parts of it that's like just play out different. Oh my gosh. Don't give me excuses to visit Toronto, friend. Ah, that would be dope. I don't know if my stomach could handle the full motion sim. I would probably give it an honest try. We we might need to get the bags if you know what I mean. Um, I wouldn't mind the attempt. I'd probably do better with a fixed motion with a no motion simulator. But I think I'd be willing to try it just once, just for a little bit. I'd have to see. I'd have to see. I do marginally better. I do better on, big plane passenger flights where I'm not flying through a lot of turbulence. That's okay. But I don't know. Oh, full cockpit, very hands-on aircraft, wraparound projectors. Okay, okay. So I mean, I flew the CRJ 700 in FSX. Like there weren't that many buttons there. I should be fine. Although, honestly, the CRJ 200 has to be one of my favorite variants of that chassis. It's one of the smallest ones. I think they might have made a CRJ 100, but the 200 is pretty in my eyes. It's just big enough to be like this sleek business jet looking thing, and yeah, I mean, it's right up there in the same category as other planes like, you know, the Longitude, the Gulfstream, like stretched out but not that big. Nice. Uh, dude, don't ever change. Don't ever change. I love your soul. Thank you. I'm down with a good roast every once in a while, as long as I know where it's coming from. Um, like I'm good. I'm good. If the boys want to hang out and we crack jokes and like there's plenty of digi ribbing, like I'm good. It's when people get a little weird that I'm like, I don't like where this conversation is going. So let's just stop. But yeah, yeah, I do like jokes. All from love, all from love. Of course, of course. All good things, all good things. Ah, I'm so grateful. I think you've discovered this for yourself, but to be perfectly honest with you, as long as a Twitch stream has even one person chatting in it, it changes the energy of the entire broadcast. Because even if they're not responding to absolutely everything you're saying, they're there, they're contributing, they're kind of helping to grow the atmosphere and bring more people in, and people will see that people are chatting. So there. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'll tell you a teensy story which some people might not have heard. But when I got started doing flight sim streams, I literally had a tablet PC, a single Logitech Extreme 3D Pro joystick, which I think I sold to someone. Yeah, I did. And I flew FSX, and I had low frame rates, and I was flying and trying to enjoy it and talking to people and generally having an okay time. A few years after that, Mrs. DIGI basically said, "Hey, we're buying you a computer." And at the time in 2019, all I needed to create a computer to play the flight sims that I had been flying was somewhere between $600 to $800. That was the tower, the operating system, the hard drive, the usual things, the CPU, the memory. The GPU was a 4 GB Red Dragon RX 560, and it played Microsoft Flight Simulator X Steam Edition fairly well. It didn't do everything perfectly, and I mean, it chugged a bit when it came to X-Plane, but I was able to upgrade the graphics card a year later. And I'm glad I did, because after that, everybody was stuck in their homes for at least a year, if not more. And so it became something else. It became an opportunity to chat with and to catch up with people. But I'm grateful for people that come in and say hello. And I'm grateful to be here. I mean, I'll be the first person to tell you I've had plenty of selfish moments. I've had plenty of moments where I've been this immature little brat going, meh, no one's watching my stream. I'm just gonna go, meh. There's been a non-zero number of times that's happened. But I think I've come full circle, and I understand there are some people that do flight simulation entertainment, that is, broadcasting on Twitch, with an ease and a flair that I can't touch. And I'm fine with that now. If I only have one or two people chatting on stream and they're good friends, amen. If someone comes on who's an actual pilot and asks me some questions, superb, but I'm most likely not going to be teaching them anything. And if I get some new folks coming on that follow or that say hello for a few seconds, again, great. It is what it is. And I am not going to make my retirement savings off of Twitch. It's just that simple. I literally got a payout a couple of weeks ago for like 50 some odd bucks, which I wound up using for lunch out that weekend, which is nice. It's kind of like, this is like my flight sim add-on or extra bit of income money. I have a job. Sometimes it's not the best job, but I think that's true of any job where you, as a human being, have to work in this imperfect world. So, Twitch is more or less back to being what it needs to be, a place where I can meet with people, talk to people, and sometimes share my experiences and just sit back and enjoy the flight. So, to everyone lurking, to everyone watching this after it airs and just kind of tooling around, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of my journey. I appreciate you. If you lurk and you never say hello, you're helping my algorithm. If you do say hello, it's great to talk to you. If you follow, great. If you sub, fantastic. None of that's required, and it's always appreciated. Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I would agree. It's more like an occasional kickback of providing your time and your services to Twitch. Some people feel like paying you with green pieces of paper with dead presidents' faces on them. That's called money. And sometimes it takes a while for the payments to come your way, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there are people that do it so well or with such ease that they can literally make some bigger choices about how they spend their time, and that this contributes more to what they're doing. Me, I'm trying to make more of a thing happen with scenery development, and there might be a fighting chance that I can actually do that in the next few months if I hit it with discipline and with focus. Simpler times. Um, on my tablet with the Carnato Phenom 100 little business jet, I was barely able to squeak out 12 to 15 frames per second on most flights. With everything tweaked, with the Intel Extreme Tuning utility squeezing every last bit of processor speed out of my dual core i7s, and with a desk fan that was blowing on the back of the tablet to keep it cool, to keep the frame rates up, which is superb. It was such a throw together thing, but it was such a great experience. For one, it was a tablet PC, so I could literally touch the screen and push a button, and I could take it everywhere I went. And as long as I had a joystick and a power cord and my fan, or at least a joystick and a power cord, I could go flying. And if I wasn't streaming, then there was less of a need for me to keep the back of the tablet cool. Yes. Um, I don't remember if I did much with the frame limiter, but I remember tweaking and adjusting the .config file to adjust the rate at which the scenery was loading versus the amount of processing power that it was taking to run the simulation. There were some interesting internal monologues I had trying to figure out whether or not I was providing the best ratio to get the scenery to load, but it's a thing. It's a thing. It was enjoyable. It was it was the formative years of my streaming hobby, and just I was motivated by everyone else around me to keep pushing forward, to keep pushing forward. Okay, so I am essentially over Newfoundland at this point. I'm not feet dry yet on the island. And after I go feet dry, there's going to be that bay, that I guess that I don't know if you'd call it Moncton Bay, but the next province is going to be Prince Edward Island, and then New Brunswick, or just the outskirts of Nova Scotia, and then we'll be in the States. And once I get to, I think, Ebony, if not before then, we'll probably begin our descent. That's what it was. I think it was Affinity Mask. It was either Affinity Max or it was like some kind of ratio. Because I think Affinity Max controlled something with regards to memory usage, but the other one that I was messing with was the ratio at which the processor was rendering the sim versus preloading scenery. So Affinity Mask sounds familiar, but I'm not sure if it was the exact same one that I tampered with. But yeah, man. And I mean, FSX was such an all-in ecosystem. I mean, back then, Orbex had the scenery releases on lock, and it was Orbex, FS Dream Team. Uh, um, who was it that released Dulles Airport at first? Oh, Flightbeam. It was just like this epic kind of like dynasty of big software companies that were releasing product after product after product, and you had the ability to create scenery yourself. I just didn't know all the things then. Absolutely. And back when I was in FSX, it was easy for me to just, download freeware. I was flying the 787 with a 737 cockpit from Open Sky, Project Open Sky. And I don't know, like it was just part of the experience. I'm pretty sure I flew the CRJ 700 a few times, and I was flying the Caribbean landing mission in FSX on a regular. Was definitely enjoyable. But but that's where I am right now. Or at least that's what times like these remind me of. If I was being transparent, I wouldn't be afraid to admit to you guys that I was struggling for a while the past couple months. I had to figure out how to manage the increasing amount of responsibility and workload at work. It was rough. When you have to scale a mountain of any size and you're not accustomed to the mental grit that it takes to just bear down and push through your stuff, it gets scary. You get mad at yourself, you get mad at life, you start to really just get ground down. Worse than powder, worse than ground coffee. You just it begins to get difficult to keep your focus because you just start focusing on the overwhelming amount of work that's in front of you. And I'm not talking about my hobby, I'm just talking about IRL. I'm grateful for the wonderful support system that I have. I'm grateful for the Lord Jesus Christ, my Savior, who moves mountains for me on a regular basis and helps me to stay where I need to be. Jesus Christ is the reason why I'm able to get through this life with any modicum of sanity and effectiveness. And Mrs. Digi is my blessing from God. She has helped me to gain and regain focus and commitment. It's like you can find excuses not to do things when the only person that you have to justify yourself to is yourself. When you have a family to support, when you have responsibilities you have to take care of, and you are reaching or trying to reach for that next rung because you have to, because there's no going back, because if you mess up, you're going to be impacted by something, whether it's economic hardship or just having to look for something else to do. When you have to dig and find a newer side of yourself that you didn't pay attention to before, those are the places where life happens. And I gotta say, life's been happening the past few months. throughout from the beginning of this year onward, there have been things and interactions that I have been processing, which I would have preferred to avoid by miles. But you can't control what's going to come your way all the time. You can make honest and wise decisions about life, but you can't control everything. And I'm grateful that the one who's in control knows and has been there already. It's my personal belief, my system of faith. I'm a born again Christian. I believe that humans were made to have a connected, active relationship with a living God that loves them, that created them for great things. And we chose evil. We chose sin. We chose something that the only, payment for that was death and separation from God. I believe it was Jesus Christ who actually came to the earth and lived a sinless life and died on the cross for our sins is the way home. And that's the only way back to God. You can live however you want to live, but if at the end of your life you haven't chosen to embrace and to live a life with Christ, our unfortunate destination is hell and eternal torment and separation from God. But a relationship with God through Christ means you can go to heaven and to spend eternity with Him. And that's what I've chosen. I've chosen that my life is meaningless without a relationship with God through Jesus Christ, through a public confession of baptism, and through a desire to let the Lord be the driving force in my life through the power of the Holy Spirit. And that's what I offer to people in terms of my belief. But I never want anyone on channel to think that I'm going to shove what I believe down your throat. No. If you're an adult, you have the free will to choose for yourself. And if it's not something you're interested in, even though I would be sad because you wouldn't spend an eternity with me in heaven through Christ, I have to accept your decision, and I have to love you and respect you as you are, where you are in your life. So, thank you for stopping in today. Thank you for being a part of the stream, whether you're just lurking or you are enjoying the flight, which we are now, I'm pretty sure, temporarily feet dry over Newfoundland. Down to the south, somewhere in, I would say, this area, way out on the horizon, would probably be St. John's and the St. John's Airport. Right now, I've got someone in front of me. I don't know where they're flying to. I don't know if they're flying to Boston, but Boston's a pretty popular destination, so it wouldn't surprise me if that's where they flew. And we've still got two folks behind us that I believe took off from Dublin as well. And I don't know where they're flying to, but blue skies to them too. And the moon is getting higher in the sky, and the sun is just starting to come up in front of me, and we'll see whether or not it's a challenge for me to land before the sun sets. I took 120,000 pounds of fuel, and I am just about to burn through the center tanks, or the center tank. So we'll see. I don't know if I should just shut those fuel pumps off for now or wait until I get below 1,000 pounds to see whether or not it's going to tell me anything. In the meantime, let's go ahead and do a little bit of arrival planning, shall we? Let me close this and let me switch back to the browser. I'm definitely feet dry, but here's the arrival that we're going to be looking at. It's the Ocean 5. It's an RNAV, and transition is flight level 180. So we are going to be coming in from AJ, just outside of, I guess, the lower main bay. Bar Harbor should probably be around here somewhere. I just forget where it was. It's a small airport. It's not an international airport, so it doesn't surprise me that I don't see it at altitude. But I would presume it's going to be somewhere around here. Or here. Or up north. Oh, there it is. We passed, well, we haven't passed it yet, but it was way north of Portland. So from AJ, where we start above flight level 290, we're going to start coming into Suffy, which is right there. And then the restriction, the first restriction, is going to be between 14,000 and 9,000. So we'll want to be no higher than 14,000 at ocean. And then things are going to happen pretty quickly, which is usually my experience with most arrivals. Once we get to Giorgio and then to Bridget, we'll get to Ada and then Lizzie, and that'll be 6,000. Once we get to the approach, then we'll turn around, hit the Noli radar fix, and be at 4,000, then 3,000, then 1,700. What I might do is I might set the MCP for 1,700 and see if the VNAV automatically resolves those altitudes for me. I hope that's the case, but whatever the case may be, we should be configured by Vocus for 1,700 for the approach. I think this is a 3-degree glide slope. There we go. And I could probably set my minimum for 540, but I set it for 216 because I use the ILS decision altitude. And as long as we don't have issues with weather, I mean, I think this thing is set for Cat 1 at least. I haven't tried a Cat 1 landing in this plane yet. Hopefully I won't have to. And that's it. We're going to be American 197. So when we land at Boston, we'll go 22 left. Hopefully we should be slowed down by Foxtrot to pull off and to go directly to the terminals. And if we do pull off at Foxtrot, we'll go down Alpha to, actually down Bravo to Echo, and see if we can find a heavy ramp somewhere. I forget which ramps are the heavy ones. Actually, I'm pretty sure I don't pay attention to that. But maybe we can be way more relaxed about it and just roll out to Papa and then go from Papa straight to Echo, cross 22 right, and then go straight down Echo. That would probably be about the easiest thing to do, especially since this is basically a high-speed ramp anyway. And then we go straight to the terminal. But that's it. That's it. Now, not doing too bad. Not doing too bad at all. Let's get back to the flight deck. And I'm happy with that progress. What do you think, chat? I'm happy with that. We still have the little group that we're a part of, unofficially. And yeah, not a bad flight. Not a bad flight at all. I've done a few tweaks to the settings that I had previously for the simulator. I've discovered that within reason, resolution kind of doesn't matter anymore because of the frame generation possible through the frame gen mod that I have. However, streaming at 1080p with the resolution set to 1080p probably is going to keep my frame rate and my performance consistent. I haven't checked my computer's performance right now, but I can tell you, putting my hands up to the vents, so to speak, my computer doesn't feel like it's running that hard, and I actually have my texture resolution in MSFS set to low. And the reason why is because I've experimented with this, and within reason, low texture resolution allows me to, at least the last time I checked, fly from any airport to any airport, and if the standard jetways are used, then the jetways fully render. I don't know why, but every time my texture resolution goes to medium or higher, the default jetways don't render fully. And I have not been able to find anyone that's provided a conclusive and fixable answer. It's always, like my jetways don't fully render. I have to exit the sim and come back and load into the airport, and then the jetways render again. What's going on? And I think part of the problem is, I guess, VRAM usage. I want to say. I don't know for an absolute fact, but I do feel like VRAM usage is being spent on so much other stuff that when it comes down to getting the jetways to render, something just breaks. So I believe my texture resolution is set to low. If I get to Boston and the jetways don't render, I'm going to check the resolution setting real quick. And if it's medium, I'll know why. Now, at the same time, I have been flying at this altitude in this configuration for so long that when I get to Boston, I wonder if it will just be easier for everything to be reloaded a certain way. I'm a software developer, but I haven't reverse engineered the programming of this game, so I don't know whether or not there's certain calculations that happen. I would have to imagine the game engine unloads a whole bunch of stuff when you're at altitude, so that even though you can see the ground, the textures that render won't be the, higher resolution textures that you're accustomed to seeing. So it is what it is. Like I'm not going to worry about it right now. And if the jetways don't fully render, hey, then at least we'll admit it to the ground, right? Okay. What time is it right now? It is 4:44 p.m. I am probably not going to be going to sleep at a very early time tonight, given today. So I might wait a little while longer to make myself a cup of coffee. Even if I don't drink coffee, though, I should probably get up from my chair and stand on my legs for a little while. As somebody who engages in a more sedentary lifestyle as a result of my vocation, if you will, being on my feet is something which I don't do enough. And that is something that I need to be careful about. as I age. Let's just put it this way, chat. I'm still younger than old, but I'm definitely older than young. So I want to make sure that I take care of myself because I had not been doing that very well the past few weeks. And it is time I change for the better. With that said, I hope wherever you are right now, you're enjoying some slightly warmer weather or slightly cooler weather if you're in the southern hemisphere. I wish I was going back to colder climes myself because fall and winter are two of my absolute favorite seasons, especially with regards to temperature. I like layers, I like pockets, I like being able to bundle up, but there is something comforting about having air conditioning as well and being able to cool the air in my home, something which I am very much grateful for. So I'll go ahead and say I'm grateful for the season in which I'm in right now because we have longer evenings, we have warmer weather, we have the ability to easily open up our windows, take in some sunshine and some fresh air, and get more sunlight. Maybe I'll do more outdoor stuff in the future. Who knows? Not on stream, not unless I actually have a camera. And speaking of future outdoor activities, I am trying to get myself over to New England sometime this summer. I want to visit some friends that are in the outskirts of the greater Boston area and then potentially go check out some really cool places with Mrs. DIGI. Unfortunately, I'm fairly positive that this year is not going to produce any Flight Sim Expo journey or trip, but it is what it is. And I'm grateful to be where I am, doing what I'm doing. Often, all of us just wish things were a touch easier, but I'm definitely appreciative of what I have at the moment. Folks, I've been on the flight deck for a little while, actually a long while. How long has it been? It's been almost an hour. Let me go ahead and step away from the flight deck for a little bit, check on Mrs. Digi, maybe make myself that cup of coffee, a light cup of coffee, and then maybe make another one later. And we'll see how we are when we get back. Sit tight, folks. Let me catch up with Mrs. Digi for a little while, and then we'll get right back. Hello, everybody. I am back. Looks like I took about a 20-minute break, so I understand if I'm talking to the air for a little while. But if you're still here, thank you. We have been flying across the Atlantic doing a lazy MSFS multiplayer only version of the biannual Cross the Pond event, which normally takes place on VATSIM. I haven't done it on VATSIM. I've just done it multiplayer, but I have been flying from Dublin en route to Boston, and I am hoping to arrive, if this is any consolation, probably in the next hour and a half to 2 hours from now, which I want to say I feel like it's possible. I do feel like it's possible. We might even get in a little earlier. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. But we took off from Dublin. I I don't remember when exactly. All I know is this morning I got up just before 10, made a cup of coffee eventually, had maybe a teensy snack, and then set up at Dublin, configured the aircraft, took off, climbed to about maybe 75–80% of the way to cruise, and left it on VNAV, and then essentially finished climbing to cruise and kind of left the screen alone for a while, helped Mrs. DIGI with taking care of some stuff around the house, and then later, after a good chunk of that stuff got done, came back, sat down, kicked up a stream somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and that's where we wound up. So now we are maybe a couple of minutes, 5 minutes away from Prince Edward Island, and then a quick blip across the back end of Nova Scotia into New Brunswick, and then coming into the States. And the rest of the trip is literally going to be like not even the final 10%, more like the final 3.5 to 5%, because the arrival is actually going to happen pretty fast. Pretty fast. I am monitoring things on my flight plan and also just occasionally peeking around. We've been dealing with clouds off and on during the flight, and it looks like we have a Qatar flight that's going to be flying overseas, I think, or maybe they're preparing to leave. Let me see. Let me see. Um, if that's correct, then there's probably an international airport on Prince Edward Island that has the proper facilities for long-haul aircraft, which means that is a aircraft that's set to fly to the Middle East. Let me see something. Let me ask my AI friend here a question. How long is a flight from Canada to the Middle East? So, just randomly picking two locations, it would take you about 14 hours to fly from Toronto in Canada to Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. So, yeah, then it would make sense. Let me think. You'd be going through multiple time zones. So if you left around now, you would deal with the +5 to cross over into Greenwich Mean Time, or +4, which would mean that would be, let's see, 9, plus the 6 or 7 hours, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then at least 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more time zones, plus the amount of time it would take you to get there. If you left now, I would suspect a Middle Eastern flight to Dubai or to somewhere in the vicinity would probably take you nonstop. Your arrival time would probably be about, what, 2, 3 p.m. local? So yeah, you would probably be boarding a flight to fly to Dubai from, say, Toronto or New York right around now? Yeah, sounds about right. Wow, that is a haul. That's not something I've done yet, even in the sim. But welcome aboard, everybody. I hope you're having a very good afternoon or evening or morning, depending on what part of the world you're in. It is 5:15 p.m. on Saturday, April the 20th, and I'm anticipating an arrival into Boston Logan sometime in the next hour and 45 minutes. I'm assuming it's going to be a little bit earlier than that because we don't have that much of a headwind right down there. It's 247 at 5.6, and our ground speed right now is 419 knots. We're registering Mach point 828. That's not bad for a cost index of 15, based on what I understand. In terms of approach ref, we're probably going to be landing flaps 30 at 157, so somewhere around 160, 157 to 162 knots. 162 knots with a plane this heavy with fuel and passengers is going to be our +5 speed. And yeah, I'm cool. That's not bad. I'm happy with that. I'm glad I got to do it. And my good friend Nathan's Planes is, I think, well on his way to San Juan from Toronto in the sim. I haven't actually done a flight to Puerto Rico in a long time. I might have to reprise I might have to reprise P3D and fly it there, and maybe even buy the old Quality Wings 757 and see if I can hack it somehow to make it work in 5.3. I'm not holding out much hope, and I've had plenty of fun flying the 787 in that sim, especially because of the, immersion and all the things it does and noises it makes. So it's not a major thing. Also, I can always try to learn the A310 some more. It's a it's a bit of an adventure, but it's cool. I will confess I have mostly flown it through AI. So the computer has taken care of a lot of the checklists for me. So my virtual flight first officer has helped me manage the plane while I've flown it, which all things considered, I'm totally fine with. In fact, what was it that I did? When they were doing cross the pond eastbound, I flew from Newfoundland to Heathrow in the A310. And the AI took care of, you know, virtually everything but flying the plane. So all we did was we streamed it and then we arrived. I think I did that like a split stream. I streamed the departure and then I streamed the arrival into Heathrow. But I did do a stream recently where I accelerated time in P3D, but did a full flight from Halifax to Keflavik. I was tempted to do that today, but I just felt like kind of like going for it in terms of flying a long distance if I was going to do that instead. I will potentially consider flying in other significantly different parts of the world this year. I'd like to visit places again like Poland and I don't know, um, Kenya, South Africa, either go to Madagascar or Sri Lanka and go to maybe Southeast Asia again, maybe do flights around Vietnam or Cambodia. I know there's an airport that I owe for a friend that I haven't worked on in years, but we'll see what's up. We will see what's up. Meanwhile, we've got some folks that are in the area and a actual real world flight that I'm assuming is either going to be going into St. John or settling on a specific altitude. I can't tell. If you're descending, I'm assuming it's because you're either going to St. John's in Newfoundland or you're going to be landing in St. John or St. John's in New Brunswick. Okay, I get it now. St. John's, no apostrophe, New Brunswick. St. John's with an apostrophe, Newfoundland. St. John, not plural, no apostrophe, that's Washington. Washington State. At least as far as I remember. And we no longer have fuel in the center tanks, so let's go ahead and turn those off. We have now reached the point in our journey where we are closer than 2 hours to our destination. At airliner speeds, 1 hour goes by in roughly 320 nautical miles. And again, it's 5:21, so barring any significant delays getting down to the ground, I am assuming we'll probably be in Boston sometime around 6:30, which is superb. We'll land, pull up to the gate, I will sign off, probably make dinner or just, do something else for a while. Spend time with the pets with Mrs. DIGI, and then maybe play some computer games later. I don't know if you guys have any kinds of game platforms like Steam or Epic Mega Games or Prime Gaming. If there were any freebies for you this weekend that were particularly cool to try out. I have also goodoldgames.com, and I have plenty of titles that I've purchased there, and I've gotten some for free. I haven't paid too much attention to them lately, but I think eventually I'd like to get back to playing them more often. I was playing SimCity 2000 for a while, but then I stopped after a little bit. Also, the scenario that I was working on got to a point where it got unwinnable, and I think that had something to do with the it had something to do with the number of you know power plants that I had in the city, and how they all suddenly just came due for renewal in 1 year. So all of a sudden I went from, say, having like $200,000 in the books to having just like 5 grand. And when you have as many power plants as you do, it's just like, no, that's not good. When you don't have that much in the way of income, I'd have to figure out how to basically make a lot of money really fast. So It got to an unwinnable state, I think. But so be it. Is there anybody near me right now? Somebody's about 5 nautical miles off my left. Let's see. Ooh, look at that. British Airways 227. I can't see you, but you're coming in from London Heathrow. Huh. Look at that. I was just talking about flights from overseas. Fortunately, we've got the advantage on airspeed. Ground speed's 416 knots, so we're not going to run into a situation with them being in front of us. Top of descent is coming in probably about 35 to 40 minutes, which is amazing. We didn't even see top of descent for hours. So there you go. All right, who else is with me still? Looks like those two same people are flying. That's dope. I think that's just the coolest part of this flight today has been knowing that there are still some folks that are with the group, between quotes, group. It's not an official group, it's just that it kind of sort of unofficially exists, which is nice. Now, now would probably be a very good time to start thinking configuration. We did say we were going to be taking flaps 30, so I think I'm going to choose. I could probably choose auto brake 2 if it's going to be an easy kind of descent. We might not even need to use thrust reversers. If we just land with auto brake 2 and spoilers, we could be just fine. Because the runway's about 10,000 feet and change, and we're going to be going down, I would assume, at least 3/4 of it to get to the high speed ramp to exit for Echo. Let me take a look at the map again. The high speed ramp is Papa. Papa empties into Echo. Echo starts on runway 27 and goes all the way to the main terminal and Terminal Bravo. So usually somewhere between Terminal Bravo, the main terminal, and the satellite terminal is the is one or more places I can actually pull into. And I'm thinking either the satellite terminal or the main terminal will be where I actually pull into. If I see any spots where there's a full complement of ground equipment and somebody kind of guiding me into a spot, then that's most likely where I'm going to go. So, fair enough for me. Bluebird 4. That gets me thinking about the pending 757 release. I hope they get a 757 out for MSFS this year. It would be great to fly something with as much, I guess you could say, digital swagger as that plane. I like it. I don't know if everybody else likes it, but It's distinguished. It's got the power, it's got the profile. It's the only long body plane that I like, other than the 787 800, maybe even 900. But basically the 757 and the Airbus A321 are very similar dimensions in terms of cabin length. So that's me. That's just my opinion. You are all certainly welcome to yours, for sure. We got plenty of weather going on right now. I don't want to mess around too much with my browser. I'm just going to go ahead and let things stay the way they are. I know we're going to be flying the Ocean 5 arrival, and I know we're set up for 22 left for our arrival. I'm sorry, our approach. Let me double check the ILS again. Pretty sure I put those numbers in. 110.3 at 215. I'll double check the radios once we actually get down there. And that'll do it. So, I've picked auto brake 2. The only thing I haven't done yet is arm my speed brakes. How does that work? Interesting. Is it my airspeed or the autopilot's not preventing me from arming the speed brake right now? That could be interesting. I can deploy speed brakes manually if I have to. Not going to worry about that right now. I know my auto brake is set. I'm fine. Oh, I should be looking at weather at Boston though, just in case I have to change the runway. I don't anticipate having to do that, but let's get started. Boston Logan weather right now has winds variable at 5 knots. Visibility is 10 statute miles. Clouds are broken at 3,100 and 4,000. Overcast at 10,000. And the altimeter is 2979er. Let's go ahead and set that up. Okay, I think that should be it now. Yep, that's set, so when we switch off, we'll have the altimeter set. I can always double check that when we actually begin descent phase, since we're still a while out. Top of descent looks like it's going to be in 200 nautical miles. It's also been a while since I've done business jet flights, so I might reprise my seat in the Embraer Phenom 100 and either do some general aviation-ish flights, whether VFR or IFR, on the network, and we'll see where we go. We can always jet set to, say, Nice or Italy or, you know, Austria or Switzerland. We could theoretically fly to either Corfu or Skiathos. We could even go into Romania or Turkey, or we could go into northern Japan And Japan is someplace I haven't actually visited on stream in a while. So that might be the next thing that I do if I do a flight. However, given some of the things that I want to try to do this year, and given that we're coming back into summer, which means a potential return to my summer of freeware MSFS scenery, I might reprise that and either work on improving all of the free airports that I've released on flightsim.to or create some new ones. But I feel like the object in life many times should be to leave a place better than the way you found it. So I think instead of actually creating new airports this summer, I'm going to pursue making improvements to the ones I've already released. Clearly, there are some projects that I haven't finished yet that I should also focus on, including Plymouth. But I'm getting back in the swing of things, and hopefully, I will not be in a spot where my brain is cooking every single day. There is something to be said for the ability to be able to stop and to gather yourself and start over. I like being busy sometimes in the sense that if it helps you get through your work day or if it helps you clear from one end of the week to the other because you're looking forward to something with family or friends on a specific day of the week and you have a few days to go, then sure, get busy, get in your zone, stay in your lane, grind it out. But I'm no longer of the opinion that one should be busy every single moment of every single day. And I feel like the reason why is because if all you're doing is just punching the clock and going through your hours and just hunting the rest of the week to get to the weekend, then that means there's like 2/3 of the week that you shoved aside to get to the place you want it to be. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're prepping for a vacation or you're going to be doing something epic on a specific date, then yeah, you're counting your time down and you're getting yourself ready. But at the same time, I feel like you I'm beginning to feel like I'm doing myself a disservice by wanting to be nothing more than to be occupied every moment, every day. And I will be the first person to tell you that I have done and said things that I am not happy with myself about over the course of the past few weeks because I haven't kept myself properly calibrated and on schedule. There's forgiveness through Christ, but there's certain things that I want to make sure I stop doing. And one of them is being too busy to be available for others. So, if after our arrival into Boston, you don't see me on Twitch tonight, you don't see me on Twitch tomorrow, you don't see me on Twitch for a few days or most of the week to come, then yeah. I've gone off to take care of things which are important, necessary, and also beneficial. Okay, that sun is beginning to come down now, so we are starting to chase the sun to Boston. I'm happy that we've come as far as we have and that we've been able to stay with the sunlight because I'm pretty sure overseas it's dark, even in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean at this point. Because right now we're past 5, so yeah, yeah. Like outside of like just into Shannon airspace, you'd probably be looking at nighttime. So I'm happy we've come this far. Where are we precisely? St. John. We're above St. John. It's just off to our 9 o'clock. So we should be crossing over into the US in about 10, 15 minutes. And the weird thing about the next waypoint, Ebony, is if you take a look at like Navigraph charts, there are a bunch of these interwoven pieces which take you from like say one point to another. And I think what happens is those it's like this big, for lack of a better phrase, like a weave or a loom. You have all these endpoints at the beginning and at the end, and all the endpoints, I believe what they do is they connect you to nat tracks to cross the Atlantic Ocean. And I guess depending on exactly how overseas traffic works, I think the northern nat tracks take you there and the southern ones take you down to Central America? I don't know. Why did the Boeing 787 take up yoga? Because they wanted to be more flexible. Ba-dum-ps. Hello. Welcome aboard, my friend. Thank you for the joke. How you doing? Welcome, buddy. If you don't know him, Pure Luck is one of my longtime friends on channel and a supporter of the channel and a wonderful member of the Flight Sim community. Please, if you have not done so, click on Pure Luck's profile and go follow him. The flight is well, friendo. We took off from Dublin, I want to say sometime around 11-ish, somewhere between 11:15 to 11:30. And if my timing is right, then that means that I should be arriving in Boston in the next hour. I would say. I would say. It's been a nice flight, actually. The cool thing is we've had a few folks on MSFS multiplayer that have been with us for the extent of the flight. I'm kind of hoping they all go to Boston with me, but I don't know if they all will. This person in front of me has been up in the sky, and they actually took off from Dublin ahead of me. And these two ones behind me took off from Dublin after me and kind of chased me across the Atlantic, which is cool. Because I feel like we've got this kind of like unspoken community group flight thing going on, which is actually pretty cool. Today's a good day. Helped Mrs. Digi move some stuff around in the living room. She is reorganizing stuff, and I am assuming, provided we get to Boston in the next hour, we settle in and we park up and we say our good nights, I will get up, probably help prepare some kind of delicious dinner, and then we sit down and we talk and conversate. Yeah, it is actually. It is. And I'll tell you something really cool that happened too. I learned how to use the FMC on the Kuro 787-800 to actually input oceanic waypoints. This is like a great day because before I forgot, or I forgot how to download the flight plan from SimBrief into this aircraft. There's no easy button that says, hey, SimBrief integration, request the flight. So I had to try to figure out how to input the waypoints by hand. At first, I was like, oh, whatever. I'm flying on multiplayer. Who cares if I'm off by several hundred nautical miles as long as I cross the Atlantic safely? But then I discovered this aircraft takes oceanic waypoints by latitude and longitude coordinates with a a designator for the northern or southern hemisphere. So that is 50 degrees north, 43 degrees west, and that's the actual coordinate. So it's able to add those coordinates by hand to the flight plan and actually cross using the alpha nat track, which, dude, I'm so happy about. And you want to know what? It's probably because I have an older version and I didn't bother downloading it. I'll probably check either tonight or at some point, unless I forget. But honestly, dude, I'm happy that actually worked out so I could actually do the flight. Yeah, yeah. Chalk it up to digi laziness. So it made for an interesting flight, but I'm also happy that we've crossed that. We've crossed that bridge. The bridge being the nat track. And we went past St. John in New Brunswick, and I'm pretty sure, oh no, we're almost there. We've got about 10 nautical miles to Ebony, and then once we cross Ebony, we're going to be a little less than 100 nautical miles to our top of descent. We have been enjoying the flight today, kind of like I enjoyed the flight last year. The major difference was I did multiplayer, but I was actually paying attention to a lot of other people's streams. I set the flight up in the 747. I went The funny thing about last year was that I took longer than I had to because I paused the sim while I went out for an hour. So it took an hour longer. But this time, I think right now we're looking at about 8 hours for the crossing, maybe 7.5. And we're consistent. So I'm happy about that. Oh well. Yeah, seriously. You laugh about it now. It's cool. It's cool. So we're American 107 Heavy. We are a 787 800. I am not on VATSIM today because I figured, number one, if I had to get up to do whatever I wanted to do, I could do it without having to keep checking in, keep radioing to frequency and say, hey, American 107 Heavy needs 10 minutes off the flight deck. I can take 50 minutes off the flight deck if I want to and come back, which is mostly what I did for the morning when I was helping out. And then now we're coming into the arrival phase and I'm happy. I'm happy. It's I think it's the bespoke Boston scenery. I'm not expecting much in terms of actually, well, is it bespoke in Boston? I think it is, but I forget how much was added. Um, if it looks cool, it looks cool. Not a lot going on over the ocean. Yeah, I think in terms of traffic right now, I mean, everything kind of took place already. I'm sure there are still people that are going to be landing. Yeah, I don't think there's a bespoke of Boston either. At least not the last time I checked. I think there's a bigger chance for Boston in X-Plane to look more than the default version does here. I'm I am not worried about it at all. I'd like to build my own version of Boston someday, but at the same time, I mean, reality check. I do work a full-time job that's been taking me 50-hour weeks plus, so my ability to create scenery and my ability to make scenery to make a living extremely limited right now. So, is what it is. I will say certain situations could line up to make something like that happen in the future, provided I do everything I need to do right now. And you are right. Boston's the big airport. Boston isn't as big in terms of square footage as, say, Denver, but it is big. Especially if you can drive a highway underneath it and be under it for a while. It's big. So, what is it? Interstate 90 has its terminus literally underneath Boston Logan Airport. And Interstate 90 is the Massachusetts Turnpike, and it starts in Boston and ends in Seattle, I want to say. It's the highest uninterrupted, or excuse me, highest uninterrupted east-west interstate highway in the US. And the lowest uninterrupted east-west highway in the US is Interstate 10. The most commonly known interstate highway in the world in terms of popularity for the United States is I-95. It starts right around where we are, just maybe several hundred miles north in Maine, and ends in Miami. So we're going to be in the area of I-95 as we come into Boston. We will be soon too. So let's take a look. We're somewhere between 60 to 50 to 40 nautical miles from top of drop. Once I see TD show up here, I'm probably going to really start getting prepped to arrive. And we've got a bunch of waypoints, so let's zoom in on this some more. This is 160. Yeah, so it's about 70 nautical miles away at this point. And we're going to be taking the Ocean 5 arrival. I'm looking forward to it. You drove to Florida on that highway. Nice. It reminds me of the classic story. Um, I think you talked about this, or either I mentioned it on my stream, or you mentioned it on yours, and how there's this place, there's this place in South Carolina called South of the Border, and it's a roadside attraction. It's like it's old school Americana. It's this thing which sucks you in, and all it is just like, I mean, this was decades ago when I last went. This could be totally different now if it even exists anymore. But it's this place that's designed to draw you in, and you spend your money there. But the hilarious thing about this, as a kid, um, as far north as Virginia, not even North Carolina, as far north as Virginia, you start seeing these signs for south of the border. SG, good to see you, my friend. Another friend of the Digi Driver community and a fellow scenery developer as well. SG, great to have you. Yeah, more than 100 miles before and after. But in Virginia's case, you're like more than 100 nautical, more than 100 miles. Welcome back, my friend. We're talking about roadside Americana, and how there's this place on I-95 called South of the Border. And as far north as Virginia, the last time I checked, you started seeing signs for South of the Border. And it's just sign after sign after sign after sign. And then eventually, if you have kids, they're just primed to want to see what this place is. So we went there, and as a kid, there were some things to do, some games to play. I think it was just this big thing where it's like, hey, we got you. Come spend money on us. But well, I'm glad you enjoyed your time as an American. Um, if you ever come back my way, let me know. Even practice my southern accent. Nice. Yeah, exactly. Um, we drove past south of the border, of course, down to Florida, and I spent time with family down there, and we visited, I think, visited Busch Gardens, and Disney World, and then eventually we drove back. But man, I mean, it was those those trips become a part of you. I want to say it's a part of the storytelling you practice on your kids, or anyone fortunate enough to be within listening range, like you guys. But yeah, yeah, that was quite the experience. But look at me. I mean, sheesh, what? I would be curious to go back to see if it's still there and if it's grown larger. Maybe, maybe. This is I think, second or third long haul that I've done on stream in the past month, the past 30 days. We've flown Halifax to Keflavik. We've flown um, Spain to Italy. And now we're flying Dublin to Boston. I think I do want to do some future European flights, maybe Norway, like Oslo to Helsinki, or maybe Venice to Istanbul, or the other way around, or something like that. I guess I'd have to figure out what my timing's going to be for the next several months, or just play it by ear and see what happens. Or I might not do any of those flights at all and focus on just doing more scenery development streams, since I haven't done that for a while. But if you guys know what's been going on long enough, you know well in hand that I've been very busy dealing with life, and it's a part of the adult experience. And speaking of which, we're coming up on dun 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 top of drop. We've got less than 30 nautical miles to go, so ding the flight attendants and let's get prepped. Auto brake is set to 2 because we're going to be rolling down most of 2-2 left to arrive. For some strange reason, I can't get the speed brake to actually stay armed, but that is quite literally the least of my worries right now, because I can always deploy the spoilers manually when we touch down. And as long as I handle the throttle correctly, I should be able to actually deploy thrust reversers on this landing. Amazing. But again, not worried about it. We're going to take it one measured step at a time, and then we're going to begin and we're going to do the best we can. And like I usually say, once the arrival portion of the flight begins, it's just going to be like this very fast moving roller coaster ride that takes us right down to Boston, and I will be there quite literally before I know it. We have been flying now for about 5 hours and 42 minutes. Or, excuse me, it's been roughly 5 hours and 42 minutes since I actually turned the clock on after we pushed back from the gate. So that's our actual block time. Flight time would probably be about 10 minutes less than that. So we've been flying for about 5.5 hours. It's that's good. That's extremely good. I was fully expecting this flight to take much, much longer. But again, last time I flew France to like Western France to Philadelphia, and I delayed my flight by an hour and it took closer to 8.5 hours. So I'm still in that range. Western crossing with not that bad a headwind. So I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. And look at that. I think this person's going to Boston too. That would be so dope if they were at Boston when we touch down. That would make my night, I think. The other folks behind me are still there. They're still at their assigned altitudes, I think. And we've got some other flights in the area, some real-time traffic, mostly multiplayer traffic. And who else is flying? There's a 789 up at about 36,000 feet. So yeah, we're good. We're good. I'm happy. All right, we're coming up on that point when the plane is going to either descend on its own or I have to toggle the VNAV switch for that to happen. I suspect it will descend automatically, but let's see. I have VNAV on, I have LNAV on. Let's see if it does anything. We're inside the arc. There we go. There goes my throttle, and here comes the descent. And just like that, folks, roughly 5 hours and 50 some odd minutes into the flight, we have begun our descent into Boston. Since the world tour. I was happy to see some of the stops that you guys took on the world tour, and I was unfortunately in a spot in which I could not participate due to the amount of work that I was dealing with at the time, and still am in some respects. But now we have departed the cruise phase and are beginning to arrive. And folks, from the flight deck, this is your Captain DigiDriver speaking. We have begun our initial descent into Boston. A quick check of the weather reveals that winds are coming in from the northwest at 8 knots. I don't think that's going to be an impediment to our arrival planned to the southwest on the 22s. We do have some clouds in the area, but I don't think we're going to be dealing with weather. It's a relatively wonderful springtime day in terms of temperature, and we should get you guys down to the ground in roughly about another 30 or so minutes. So please bring your seats and tray tables back to their upright and stowed positions as we prepare for arrival. And if you have any loose articles you need to divest yourselves of, such as trash, our flight attendants will take care of that for you. So thanks for flying with us, and we hope you enjoy your arrival into Boston. It's been a while. There's been a non-zero number of updates. I think 2 updates to MSFS since the World Tour. I think. Now, let me think about something. If the winds are coming in from the northwest, it would make sense for me to land to the northwest. We could change our approach to come in on 3-3 left, or we could just say, you know what? I don't care, and we stick to 2-2 left. That would give us a strong crosswind, like almost complete crosswind and slight tailwind complement, but it wouldn't be that bad. My bigger concern would be either dealing with traffic that's departing on 4 left and 4 right, or dealing with cross traffic. So I have to make a decision. I have to decide. Landing 2-2 left. Okay. Okay. That's what my flight plan's set for. So as long as IRL traffic and the everybody flying in is landing on the 2-2s, I'm okay with that. Departing 2-2 right, landing 2-2 left. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, man, I don't like it when things stop working or they break spectacularly, so my respects to you for the effort. We're coming down at about 2,100 feet per minute, and we won't have that much longer to go. Let me take a look at the arrival again. Where are we? Okay, we're just about to hit AJ, so we're just about to get started on the Ocean 5 arrival. Once we do that, it's all downhill from here, literally, which is dope. Here we go, turning in. Okay, well, I'll take that. I'll take that. That's good enough for me then. I'll stick with 2-2 left, and we'll go most of the way down the runway, peel off on the high speed, which is Papa, which bleeds off into Echo, and then we can go down Echo straight to the main terminal and Terminal Bravo. I think Terminal Charlie and the more northern terminals are like almost strictly JetBlue, so we'll we'll we will listen for the song of our people. And we'll go down there. Maybe even the satellite terminal if they've got a spot big enough for this plane. And it's not that big. It is a heavy aircraft, but it's not like a 787X. So I'm happy. Hawk Down 9 continues to descend in front of me roughly, so I'm pretty sure they're going to be going to Boston as well. And yeah, man, not much else to say. This has been a wonderful experience. Especially since I started the stream mid-flight when I was much closer to Canada. But yeah, I do think once I land in Boston, it's going to be a quick sayonara, and then we're going to take care of business around the house for a little while, sit down, maybe watch some TV or watch some fun stuff, talk about the week to come, and then we're going to decide whether or not we're going to do anything else on the computer. I might tune into Sim Caesar's stream and watch what he does. I missed Sim Caesar's train stream last night. I've trended towards tuning into those. He plays this game where it's basically full motion video of someone of an engineer or a conductor on one of the Japanese train lines, not a Shinkansen, not a super high speed line like a commuter line, but essentially it's a sim where what it is they figured out how to manipulate the playback so you feel like you're controlling the train, and you go from place to place, and it's cool enough that it's piquing my interest and making me want to try it more and more every single time I see it, because obviously you're not going to get better graphics than real life. You take that back, Digi. But the full motion video aspect makes the graphics basically a guaranteed hands down win. And the way that it works is that you just get this like all-in experience with just a little bit of ingenuity, which I think is superb. So before long, if you see a stream from me with the title "Did you decide to pilot a train?" Don't worry, I'm fine. Nobody's hacked my stream. It's just me being curious. I still have Microsoft Train Simulator, actually. I should probably install that and give it a shot and see if it works on my current rig. Because if it does, then I can always kind of like slowly bring myself into the ecosystem and figure out what all the hubbub is about. I will say one thing. I have managed to get my hands on a free copy. There was a giveaway. If you have Amazon Prime Gaming, they're giving away Bus Simulator 21. So I might just play around with that given the time and the opportunity. I don't feel like it's a bad call, personally. But we'll see. We will see. Meanwhile, we're getting closer and closer to our arrival, and we're starting to litter the sky here with a whole bunch of usernames, many of which I'm assuming are at Boston. And we are going to zero in, and now all these beautiful waypoints start coming in. The green banana of 6,000 feet is way, way outside the lines, but that's okay. As long as I come into here and wind up being at 14,000 by ocean, we should be good. Bastard. Oh my gosh. Wasn't there an old beer commercial? It's like, your cousin from Boston. Something like that. We got a whole bunch of waypoints and we've got vectors. Vectors. I'm not on VATSIM, so I don't care about vectors. Yeah. And now we've got the entire thing punched in, which means, ooh, we got emergency descent speed, baby. Feel that in your gut. So we've just cleaned up to descent, which is probably what I should have done before I began my initial descent. Whoops. But we're good. We're good. Now the entire flight plan is connected from one end to the other. We are literally on the last 5% of the flight. I have enjoyed time catching up with you folks and also just stepping away from the cabin occasionally. I'm going to enjoy this arrival into Boston, and we'll see what we can do. If the Lord wills it that it crashes on final, then it crashes on final. I'm past that point in my life where it's like, it crashed on final, like I'm so bad. Like, what are you gonna do? Really, what are you gonna do? The stuff happens, so it's all good. Like, it's done. You can't do anything about it at that point. But I feel like, in part, some of the reasons behind my sim crashes in the past were due to overly aggressive graphics settings and a whole bunch of things that I had running in the background while I was simming. Does that mean we won't have a CTD on final approach? I can't guarantee there won't be one, but if the Lord wills it, we'll have a wonderful landing at Boston in about 15 minutes at this rate, and we'll see. Meanwhile, thanks to everybody that lurked for the flight and that said hello. Appreciate your support. Even if you're just here to boost the algorithm, you are here, so thank you. we have been flying the Kuro 787-800 in the American Airlines livery. We departed from Dublin in Ireland earlier, and we are now in the final phase of our arrival into Boston. So we're going to ding twice. And now we really are coming in. So before I forget, we're going to turn landing lights on. Yes, at 18,000 feet. No, I don't care. And we are going to hit the standard button and bring in the altimeter. So now we've got local pressure, and we are well inside the range of airspeed we should be at for our descent. At least that's what it looks like. Happy to have you, Pure Luck. Happy to have you here. We need to be between 14,000 and 9,000 feet for ocean, which I'm hopeful will happen. If we start getting to 10,000 feet and I don't see the descent rate slow down at all, I'm going to swing it back up to 9,000 feet and park it there. And then we're gonna descend by hand until we get to our approach altitude. Once we get to the last waypoint on the arrival, then I'm going to make sure 3,000 is selected. If we're nowhere close to 6,000, I might have to manually extend the center line. I don't know how to do it on the FMC, so the only way I know how is just to basically take over with the heading bug and then get turned around and land the plane. But we will see. Not too shabby. I think the other pilot went somewhere in that soup. Yep, right there. They're under 10,000 feet. I wonder if the other pilots behind me are beginning their descent as well. Well, it looks like it. I don't know where the other pilot went. Could have just been a multiplayer thing like it usually is. But now they're beginning their descent too, which makes me really happy. I wasn't planning this at all, and we wound up having 2 or 3 people total come along for the trip from Dublin to Boston. I mean, like I said before, it's a kind of, you know, I want to say somewhat common flight, so it happens. It's a thing. And what's my time right now? 6:24 local East Coast time. So we ain't doing too bad. Not bad at all, actually. Okay, so descent checklist. Let's take a look at our setup stuff here. We have the ILS set to 110.3, course setting of 215. Let me double check my approach. 110.3, 215, course setting confirmed, and ILS confirmed. We have been TARA, and we've got auto brake 2. Can we arm the speed brakes now? Now we can arm the speed brakes. Okay, that's interesting. The computer knows well enough not to let the speed brakes be armed except when we get to descent. That's cool. Let me check the arrival again. Do we have any speed restrictions? We have a 250 knot speed restriction at ocean. So that's cool that the plane actually knows that. I'd probably say another 25 minutes and I'm done. Okay. Okay. Love you. Mrs. DIGI is chilling until we're done. We're coming in, folks. We're coming in, and we are coming in with a purpose. Ocean is in 3 nautical miles. We're gonna be a bit faster, but the plane was actually actively slowing down, so I'm okay with that. Even if we're in the high 250s, as far as I'm concerned, we hit the speed restriction. So once we cross over ocean, we stick with 250 knots all the way down, and then we're going to go to Giorgio, Bridget, Ada, and Lisi. And then after Lisi, we're going to go straight to Noli, and that's going to take us into the approach. And we've got beautiful, low quality volumetric clouds greeting us as we approach Boston airspace. I'm learning to enjoy low quality clouds again and low quality textures, especially if they help me the way that I think they're going to. I'm relatively sure that I have low quality textures on the ground, specifically because I wanted to do it that way so that my default jetways would render. Resolution. Resolution is set. Texture resolution. Oh, yes, exactly. Current texture resolution is low. Yes, that's what I want. That's exactly what I want because I want that resolution low so I have more VRAM. If you don't know what I'm talking about, texture resolution lets you use, I guess, lower texture sheets, like, you know, going from 8K texture sheets to 4K to 2K to 1K. I'm hoping that frees up my VRAM since I only have a 3060 Ti with 8 gigs. So, like say a 4090, you'd have like 24 gigs, 4090 Ti. So you would not be worried about that. I'd also be without like 2 slots of expansion. So no, it doesn't look bad at all. I'd rather take a very functional, nicely working, smooth sim with low clouds and low textures where everything comes together and makes the experience wonderful. I'm more a fan of consistency now, more than ever before. 6,000. You know what? I'm gonna set up for 1,700 so that I can stay on track for the arrival. Since I'm nowhere near 6,000 feet, it should be able to take that change without any kind of manipulation. And I'm very happy. Lots of folks on the ground in Boston. I'm happy. Did our esteemed pilot land already? I don't know. I can't see them in this pile of usernames, but I would assume they either. Oh, no, no, no. They're right there. They're right there. They're probably going to be coming in on the ILS approach, same as me. And it looks like I'll need it because I don't see the ground right now. I am on. I should be East USA. I should be. So if you load into Boston, you're going to see me coming in. I am Ryu Haneda, and I'm going to be in a 7.8. So if you have the Kuro mod 787-800, you should be able to see my plane model matched. Unless you don't have the American Airlines livery. It's okay. I fly P3D when I want to fly to places on VATSIM where I know I'm going to be able to model match much better. I fly MSFS when I want the experience. So there we are. Where are we right now? We are approaching Bridget, and then we're going to be going to Ada, and we're going to be turning from before Lisi to Noli. So here we go. So many people. Beautiful stuff. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm about 90% sure that I'm on East USA. I don't normally change it. If you do, What was it that I usually do? Like I don't do like a focused server. I usually do like all players so I can see everybody. And I think it used to be if you picked a specific server, I'm not sure if it limited how many people you saw, but I'm East USA as far as I know. I'm either East USA or West USA, but I should be East USA. We'll see. And again, we're probably going to be approaching at about 162 knots, fully loaded. A cloudy afternoon sky, sunsetty, so we hit the target, people. Praise the Lord. This is good stuff. 11 degrees C outside. So it's like what, 50-ish degrees? Or close to? It's gonna be colder by the sea today than it is in the interior. We're approaching 6,000 feet and we are not slowing our descent rate down, at least not significantly, so I'm happy. All right, let's start configuring ourselves. We'll take flaps 1. It's not that cold out if you see this and you're wondering what's going on. This is probably a byproduct of the frame gen mod. But I'm cool. Like I said, easy price for me to pay for better frames. Let's go flaps 5. Also, let me double check. The approach go around altitude is going to be 3,000 feet. So once we're locked into the approach mode, I will go ahead and arm 3,000 feet and we will leave it at that. Just a few micro stutters, not many. I'm happy with that. And the ground looks more geometric, but I've learned to appreciate that, especially since I'm probably not going to be looking at the ground much IRL. If I was a 787 pilot, I'd keep my eyes on the prize. So I think Noli needs to be 4,000 feet, but yeah, we're well on our way. I'm happy. So nice to see the ground after um, basically 6 hours of flight time. So this is a great flight. Okay, we'll take flaps 15 now. Speed checks, in my opinion. Anybody behind me? Let's see. Anybody turning in? Not at the moment, but it does look like one of our companions from Dublin is coming in, which is superb. It's absolutely superb. I'm happy to see this. Very happy to see this. Turning final. Let's go ahead and take gear down. Gears down, flaps 15. Let's go flaps 20. And let's go vertical speed, flaps, speed set to 162. And you know what? Let's go ahead and activate approach now. Approach is set once we begin our arrival. or once we get on the beam, I'll set the go-around altitude. We'll take flaps 25. Definitely got flaps, and I think those are slats out. That's a big flexible wing. There we go. And we'll take flaps 30. Flaps 30, and we're good. We are flirting with the red tape for speed, but honestly, that's about it. I'm learning to appreciate the geometric scenery just for the better frame rate. So I'm very much happy. All right, predict whatever you want. Doesn't matter because I don't track landing rate. And it looks like we have real-time traffic that's going to be landing on 22 right. I think they're not coming in at 22 left. At least I hope not. Because if they do, I don't care. I ain't going around for you. Sorry. All right. So once I cross 1700, that means I'm going to be on the Vocus waypoint. And once I cross Vocus, I will reset for 3,000 feet. Coming into what I kind of call North Shore here. Okay, so again, the idea is throttles all the way back, hit the thrust reverser button once, fully depressed, and then activate the thrust reversers. And we're going to see whether or not this actually works out. Okay, and it does look like the computer is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Lovely, I'm happy. There's the skyline. And now I'm going to reconfigure for 3,000 feet. Mr. Approach altitude is now set. All right, kids, sit tight. Here we go. The show is about to begin. Yeah, now my PC's chugging. All right, then. Controls are in range. And we are set to do the things. I can disarm my auto throttle when I have to. 1000 stable, Mr. Approach altitude is set. Gear down, flaps 30. Speed checked, seen twice. Configured. All right, so cabin crews advised, landing gears down, flaps 30, green light. Landing checklist complete. We are cleared. 500, my plane. Okay, 787, disarm the auto throttle after you land. Interesting. JetBlue landing on a 15? Landing. Excuse me. All right, gear is down, and we're all over the place with ground movements, but that's okay. All right, let's apply brakes manually and slowly introduce some reversers. Nope, reversers did not activate. That's okay. I would prefer not to go into the drink. Nope. Well, good news, we're not going to go in the drink. Bad news, we went way past our exit point. I did turn off the auto throttle after we landed, but ground roll was all over the place. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to. No, no, I thought we had the speed brakes up, deployed. That's weird. That's okay. Autopilot disconnect. I'm sorry I didn't see chat, but I'm happy we made it down. Where are we? That's my first question. We are on Mike. We'll follow Mike past 27 and 9er, and then we'll turn left on Echo. Let's get the flaps up. The speed brakes are retracted. And we will turn flight directors off, autopilot's off, and that should be everything. Let's go ahead and turn on the APU. Turn off lights. I'll turn off the mains and turn the taxi lights on too. Okay, we should be coming up on Echo. Actually, that's Kilo. Next one's going to be Echo. Seriously, all things considered, we landed. Like, that's it. We hit the jackpot. Okay, Pure Luck, thank you so much for tuning in. A privilege having you around. As always, enjoy the rest of your evening, friend. And God bless you. Okay, so welcome to the default Boston. We have arrived at Boston Logan after a pretty squirrely landing. And we kept it on the runway. We didn't go into the drink, although we used the entire runway. I would say 75% of it, because we went past the landing point, mostly because of just kind of like gut instincts, avoiding the aircraft which spawned in for departure. But we are now officially off the runway, which is superb. Wing lights can come off. The APU should now be running. And we're now going to be coming in. Next thing to do is to find the spot to park. So we're going to play the fun game called, well, number one, avoid the taxiing traffic. And number two, find anywhere where there's ground crew waiting for you. I like to play that game because it means the sim might either be anticipating where I'm going to park, or back in the day when you used to plan all your flights from the world map, you could pick the gate you were going to arrive at, and then I think it would be easier for you to get your ground crew and hookups to meet you at that spot. We're going past the cargo ramp to our left, and off to my right is Terminal Bravo. Theoretically, as long as I get to a big enough spot, I should be fine. I'm probably going to park at the satellite terminal because I think it's usually easier to park a heavy there. I mean, if that was a cargo plane, I'd be done. But I'm happy. Again, sincerely, thank you to everybody that's tuned in today and said hello. It's made the miles so much nicer, and I appreciate touching down at Boston. It certainly could have been smoother, and it it's like it's tricky sometimes to get a good landing in this plane, but it is worth it. I feel like this is us. Unless, of course, I'm thinking differently. Let me take a look. I don't see much else going on right now, and I do see a spot which will hopefully be big enough to accommodate my aircraft. I'm a heavy, but it's not that long, so I'm hoping there is somebody waiting to guide me in. If not, whatever. Let's get the taxi light off, and let me get turned around. All right, now I should be able to turn in. Let's see. Am I going to work it? Is it going to work out? Let's see. It's much bigger than it should be for the spot. It's okay. I don't care. We're good. Burp. Hopefully it won't be that jetway that tries to connect with my aircraft. And parking brake is set. Auto brake is disarmed. APU is running. Let's go ahead and call it a flight. Flight attendants, doors and cross check. Stand by for all call. Let's go ahead and take our power and get the jetway. And am I too close? Does it even matter? No. I do not care. What I could probably do is get the slew to pull me back a little bit. Like to... No, that's about the same. Now I'm even closer. That could be better. Let's see if it works. Is my parking brake still on? It is. Let me try one more time. If not, I just don't care. We'll get stairs. Nope. Nope. It could be proximity to the gate. So let's go ahead and hook up power, stairs, and that'll do it. It's been about a 6-hour and 20-minute trek from Dublin to Boston. And look at that. GLMC Queen number 1980 is looking for a spot. Kind of hope they park down this row, but whatever. I mean, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I almost want to slew the plane over to a spot where everybody can line up, but I don't know where the other person went. Oh, okay, they're on the other side. I see. That's neat. Seriously, whoever you folks are, thanks for coming along. I haven't said hello to you in terms of like any kind of other Discord type chat, and I'm so happy to actually have made it to Boston here with you both. So the ground power is now connected, which means I can turn off the APU. I can shut down my fuel pumps, and I can go ahead and turn off the beacon, nav, and logo lights. And let's go upstairs and just make sure everything's shut off. I can turn off the IRSs because I'm not going to be flying this plane again. I can, yeah, turn off the fasten seatbelt signs. Packs will come off, recirc fans are going to be coming off, and window heats all come off too. And there we go. Not going to get better than that. A 6-hour and roughly 20-ish minute flight down to the ground at Boston. I am very happy. It's superb. It's superb. Looks like they were ferrying cargo, which is excellent. That is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And honestly, if the only trouble that I had with this flight was that I had trouble keeping the plane on the runway and slowing down in time, I'm happy. We actually flew the entire flight. We made it all the way down. It's not going to get better than that. It would if I had a jetway to pull into that I knew that was good for my my plane size, and if I actually had all the things done and down to a T. But we're here. We've got superb frame rate with all this traffic, and dude, it's probably not going to get much better. You know what I could try? I could probably try to move this a little bit more. Maybe I could try this parking spot and see if it actually works. And ask for a jetway, but we'll take what we can get. We'll try one more time. Which one's working? Let me see. Nope, none of them are. That's weird. Oh, hold on. One click. There we go. We're closer now. Let's try it again. Yeah, no. Bummer. We don't have all the jetways rendering, but that's only one. Actually, there's some over there. But honestly, we have as much airline traffic loading in as possible. Oh, and Pierluck's here. How come? How come I completely missed that? Sorry, friend. I do wish my jetways were working, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll take what we can get, I guess. But I will make sure to put screenshots up on Discord. We have officially arrived in Boston after roughly 6+ hours on a trip west from Dublin. And another year in the bag for the unofficial Cross the Pond MSFS multiplayer ops. This year was the 787, last year with the 747, and we'll do what we can. I think one thing I can check is to see how much traffic is actually showing up and whether or not I can actually control it. Data says live real-world traffic on. I don't have a rolling cache. I have unlimited bandwidth. So what about traffic? Airport vehicle density, worker density. I don't have any parked aircraft. And fauna density. Generic aircraft models for AI traffic. Generic aircraft models for multiplayer. Show multiplayer aircraft in close proximity. And I don't know if this affects the intensity of traffic or the variety of it. So I don't know what to tell you. It's an ongoing issue, and honestly, I'm not going to let that affect my enjoyment of the sim. If I want better model matching, I will fly with B3D. If I want a more visually appealing experience, like today, I will fly with MSFS. So I'm going to pretend the jetway hooked up. I'm going to pretend everybody's deboarded. And from the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful skyline of Boston, which I'm going to look at this way, I will enjoy some views of the city in this beautiful sunset configuration. let's go ahead and indulge ourselves in a quick flight around the area. We came here, folks. We got here. Welcome to Sun City, Boston. And I'm going to go ahead and take a few shots of the area as is. It looks pretty. I'm genuinely happy. We took off, we flew across the ocean, we landed. I don't care how ugly it was, we landed. And now we get to indulge in a little bit of sightseeing, so to speak, and taking a look at the downtown Boston skyline. I don't know many landmarks here at all, so I'm not going to give you guys a tour. I just know that the city center is visually appealing. Somewhere out this way is, I think it's Cambridge University, and there is a stadium somewhere around here that has the big green monster. Baseball, I mean, unless they took it down. And yeah, I'm happy. Wow, look at how visually appealing all this is. Dude, to think that years ago to have a scenery this detailed would have meant saying, like, there's no way you can do it or the frame rates would be so low. This is wonderful. Yeah, so there we go. It's it's not gonna get much better. It honestly isn't. These folks, I think one of them logged off already, which is cool. I'm happy. Now, are they still landing 2-2s? They might be landing to the north now. It looks like they are, at least. So that's pretty cool. I wonder I wonder if I turn off live traffic if I'm going to run into a similar situation with jetways in the future. But I'm not worried about that right now. Or at least I'm not going to spend time thinking about it. That's cool. That's definitely cool. Just going to mess around a little bit. Enjoy the satellite generated scenery. And park ourselves on the beach. And there we go. Wonderful. Folks, that will definitely do that for me today. Oh man. In for the buy shot. Yes. Um Believe it or not, Nathan, I've actually got, let's see, I've got water effects set to low, clouds set to low, texture resolution set to low. I think the only reason why the jetways didn't fully render, or in this case maybe work, could be because of the amount of satellite, I'm sorry, live traffic that was actually in Boston at the moment. But we made it down to the ground in Boston, skated all over the place, didn't actually get the thrust reversers to kick in, used the entire runway once we touched down, and got scary close to going in the drink, but didn't actually go off the runway. So I'm happy about that. We did make it roughly 6.5 hours from Dublin to Boston, and now this is the chill down. Return leg. If I was flying from Boston, I think I'd be tempted to go to Heathrow instead of back to Dublin, but that won't happen today. If if I ever get to a point where I'm able to dictate a better schedule. I think I'd probably have like a 15-minute intermission or something like that, and then prep for the return, which would conceivably depart, conceivably depart, I'd say between 8 and 9 o'clock. Because let me think, 5 hours to Dublin would be, well, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's say 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 or 2. Yeah, so it'd be an AM arrival. 30 minutes out from San Juan. Nice. Dude, congratulations. Maybe I'll drink a little vodka toast to you once I start prepping dinner. But all the same, it's been a pleasure talking to everybody and enjoying some time. I will endeavor to hopefully have a better experience with jetways in the future. I again, I don't know why there's so much difficulty with jetways appearing in my sim, but it's okay. What I'm probably going to stop doing is I'm probably going to stop flying with real-time traffic, because I think that's one of the reasons why my VRAM is being consumed so much, because there's so many um, AI planes at airports. And if I fly without AI planes going forward and I still have problems with things loading in, it's probably because I'm streaming. And in that case, I'm just going to go ahead and give up. But it's been a privilege, folks. Thank you so much for your time. Well, there we go. There's my answer. MSFS default jetways are hit or miss. So if I get to the airport and I can pull in and I get a jetway to hook up to my plane, superb. I mean, the simple fact that I can go from being at the airport to getting this kind of like beach shot, enjoying the sunset and taking it in, that's great. I'm gonna go ahead and call it. Won't do a rate just so everybody can kind of find their way and just enjoy the rest of the evening. Again, I will be offline. If I'm saying hi to anybody, it's probably going to be a little bit later, and I'm going to be working on either dinner or just a few last minute things. But until then, folks, it's been an absolute pleasure having all of you aboard for tonight's flight. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my live traffic now to see if for any reason that actually improves frames. I don't anticipate it will. Actually, you know what? I think it just did. Let me see if the jetways actually render. Because if they do, dude, that would be superb. I'm not expecting them to. I think there's a good chance that I will be on Canucks stream, but I'm going to go ahead and take that one step at a time. Okay, I would say most of the jetways have rendered. The only thing is that not all the pieces are in place. So I'm cool. Let's see if the jetway actually works now that I took off some of the other stuff. No, it's not going to. It's okay. It's okay. All right. Now I am actually going to exit. So have a great night, everybody. It's been a privilege having you guys with me. And until next time, I'm going to go ahead and say bye for now from the East Coast of the U.S., East Coast time zone, I should say. And I will head out. Take care. And like I always like to say, if you want true peace, you want the Prince of Peace. And that's Jesus Christ. Take care, folks. Have a great night. And thanks for coming along with me. We'll see ya.